Public Relations. Edward L. Bernays. 1945. Narrated by Skeptical Waves. Part 2. Public Relations in Action. 19. The truth about House Magazine's 50 million readers can't be wrong. In the autumn of 1948, the House Magazine Institute, an association of industrial publication editors of the eastern United States, invited me to address its members on how to approach your management. The topic suggested the wider question of how management evaluates house organs and what the impact of these publications is on the publics they are designed to reach. To this specific problem, of interest to house organ editors and management, I first applied the social science methods of research. I decided to write to 100 corporation heads asking them to give me their views. But in order to evaluate the replies against a broader background, I also obtained figures on the origin and development of house organs in the United States, the ways in which they are distributed, and to what executive officers their editors are responsible. I analyzed the replies of the corporation officers and then prepared a talk that I delivered at a meeting of the House Magazine Institute on December 9, 1948. The following chapter is based on that talk. After presenting, analyzing, and discussing the replies given by the corporations to each question, the findings are synthesized and related to the broad picture, and suggestions are offered for improving the house organ. This is a case in which general principles of social science and public relations are applied to the specific problems of company magazines with key publics. How does management evaluate the house organ? To find out, I wrote the presidents of 100 important American corporations picked at random from listings in the Business Executives and Corporation Encyclopedia. Among them were General Foods Corporation, Burlington Mills Corporation, the National Cash Register Company, Bausch and Lomb Optical Company, Armour & Company, Pillsbury Mills Incorporated, Allegheny Ludlam Steel Corporation, Rexall Drug Company, Chrysler Corporation, the Solatex Corporation, Transcontinental and Western Air Incorporated, Pacific Telephone and Telegraph Company, and Ford Motor Company. My correspondents represented a wide range of products: foods, textiles, drugs, machinery, steel, aircraft, optical supplies, tobacco, finance, utilities, construction materials, rubber, glass, and other fields of industrial action in 21 states. I told them I was studying house organs and their relationship to management. This was a new field that required thorough analysis in order to be of greater use to management. Would they tell me about their experience with their own house organs? Would they evaluate the impact of these magazines on the public for which they were intended? I added that I would try to chart a course for the future that might be of practical use to management, provided management told me, 1. The purpose the house organ was designed to fulfill in their organization. 2. Whether the house organ accomplished that purpose. And 3. What its present achievements and shortcomings were. Of the 100 companies, I heard from 49, almost a 50% response. 70% of the 49 had house organs. 32 firms answered the questionnaire in detail. It is significant that 14 of these letters, or 44%, were signed by top management president, vice president, chairman of the board, or other officer. This indicates a genuine interest in house organs by top management. 18 of the 32, or 56%, came from public relations directors and editors. I have, of course, no way of knowing how many of the letters signed by company officers were written by public relations directors or house organ editors. But even if some were, it is a sign of management's confidence in the house organ and its editor. Before discussing the replies, it may be useful to present some facts and figures on the development of house organs in the United States. This will help us to evaluate the replies against a broader background. Webster's New International Dictionary defines a house organ as a publication of a business concern containing articles of interest to employees and customers. This strikes me as a sketchy definition that needs broadening. The encyclopedias are silent on the subject. They had not yet got around to listing house organs. But we were luckier with Printers Inc. They tell us that, according to their records, the two oldest house organs continuously published in this country are the Traveler's Protection, issued by the Travelers Insurance Company since 1865, and the Locomotive, published continuously since 1867 by the Hartford Steam Boiler Inspection and Insurance Company. At the same time, Printers Inc. reported an amazing increase in house organs during the past 20 years. There were 575 house organs in the prosperity year of 1929. As a result of the Depression, the number dropped to 280 in 1933. By 1936 it had climbed back to 417. It kept on climbing. By 1944 there were 5,053 house organs. By 1947, 5,348, almost 10 times as many as in 1929. Of this total, 2,430 were internal house organs, 1,770 external, and 1,148 a combination of both types. The International Council of Industrial Editors, in its report of October, 1948, gives some equally interesting figures. According to the Council, industrial publications in the United States and Canada are divided as follows: 4,050 internal, 1,160 external, 420 trade and association, 360 miscellaneous. Of these, 3,213 are issued monthly, 1,240 bi-monthly, 750 weekly. The rest fall into daily, bi-weekly, and quarterly. About half of these house organs are distributed through the mail, half are handed out or placed where they can be picked up. About 1/3 of the editors, says this study, report to the president and executive vice president or an editorial board. About 20% report to the advertising manager or public relations director. About 20% report to the personnel or industrial relations director. Responsibility for the remainder is scattered. According to the International Council of Industrial Editors, the combined circulation of house organs in the United States and Canada is about 50 million. This is a formidable figure. It is more than the combined circulation of this country's daily newspapers. It is more than 2.5 times the combined circulation of Time, Life, Reader's Digest, Saturday Evening Post, and Collier's. Certainly house organs are a far more important factor in magazine communication than anyone has realized. Yet in this deserves serious thought, it is estimated that the combined budget of all industrial publications in the United States and Canada, including salaries, printing, engraving, postage, and artwork, is only about $109 million. Against this general background, let us examine the replies of the corporations to the questionnaire. Of the 32 corporations replying in full, there were 27 with internal house organs. The rest had external or both. The first question asked management was, "What is the purpose of your house organ?" The replies varied because the purpose varied. The 27 corporations that publish internal house organs utilize them for 3 separate purposes. 1. As a direct line of communication to individual employees. 2. As morale builders. 3. As media of sales promotion through employees who are not salesmen. The corporations that publish external house organs emphasized 4 purposes. 1. To give information and keep the company's name before customers at all times. 2. To discuss retailers' problems, economic trends, promotion plans, display ads, and similar matters. 3. By story and picture, editorials, and features that go beyond advertising and news releases, to project the company's leadership in engineering, design, and manufacture. 4. To give dealers necessary information about new products, services, and company policies, accompanied by an effort to instill greater loyalty and cooperation based on the feeling that the dealers are part of one big company. Since the companies in the survey predominantly emphasized internal house organs, let us discuss in greater detail the 3 purposes they are designed to meet. How does the house organ function as a direct line of communication from management to the individual employee? In some companies, the house organ educates, entertains, and interests the employees in the policies and potentials of the company. One correspondent wrote, "The house organ publicizes important changes of personnel or policy, new uses of products, what other plants are doing, annual reports, and other financial information in simple form." Others said they use the house organ to develop closer coordination of interest and purpose, to correct misinformation, to integrate employees and management, departments and plants, bridging the gap between workplace and home, and humanizing the management. And one company described the house organ as a line of communication to the employees, saying, "We try to tell what we are doing, why we are doing it, and how it will affect the employees." In describing the house organ as a morale builder, various companies said they used it. 1. To publicize employee activities, bolstering morale through recognition in print and providing an outlet for self-expression through contribution of copy. 2. To instill pride and loyalty in the company. 3. To promote the best possible employee-management relations. 4. To create mutual respect, advance mutual interest, and preserve mutual understanding. 5. To strengthen social ties among individual employees. 6. To project leadership of management and employees in civic activities. 7. To promote the goodwill of employees and their families. 8. To remind employees that management is interested in their well-being. 9. To foster a feeling of unity, to create better teamwork based on confidence, and to seek the goal of one team with one purpose. 10. To help visualize individual jobs as a part of the company's total activity. 11. To strengthen the sense of job security through feature articles on long service employees, the company's stability, etc. 12. To promote community spirit with the company. One company wrote that the major purpose of its house organ is to advance the interest of the company, with and through employees, by creating the greatest possible understanding on the part of the employees of the conditions required for any enterprise to become and remain a good employer, to increase knowledge of what the company has been able to do through freedom of opportunity and good management, to supply employees and their families with facts about the company, to help employees visualize their jobs as part of the corporation's whole activity, to remind them that management is interested in them and their well-being, to entertain, interest, and help them with information useful in their personal affairs. The third broad purpose of the internal house organ was described as sales promotion through employees who are not salesmen. According to the replies to the questionnaire, the house organ accomplishes this by acquainting employees with the wide range and variety of the company's products, their use, and their application. The house organ also introduces new products, outlines promotion techniques, announces advertising devices and display aids. As we have seen, the external house organ also emphasizes these aspects of sales promotion. Does the house organ today accomplish its avowed purposes? On this vital question, the replies from management and editors alike were almost unanimous. Nearly everybody said that the house organ does do so. Only one company said no. They said they had discontinued their house organ because they did not believe it served any useful purpose, and possibly there was harm from too much petty gossip. But even this company is not wholly lost to the cause. They are now considering the publication of a newspaper instead of a magazine. The companies which reported that their house organs do meet their purposes gave various reasons for this conclusion. One cited the interested and enthusiastic body of readers that their magazine enjoys and the word-of-mouth response in its favor. Another said it had made a survey which revealed that its house organ has 4 readers per copy. A third company based its affirmative conclusion on requests for reprints and permission to republish, as well as response to giveaways, and a fourth on the demand for additional copies. Other companies predicted the success of their magazines on recognition by professional newsmen and awards. After due weight has been given to these reasons, the most important fact, it seems to me, is still the almost unanimous agreement by management and editors alike that the house organ, as it exists today, meets the purposes for which it is published. The third question in my letter of inquiry was, what are the present achievements and shortcomings of the house organ? Half of this question was automatically answered in the replies to the previous questions. Since management and editors believe that the house organ covers the necessary ground and meets its purposes, they naturally believe that its achievements are considerable. The replies, however, also commented on the shortcomings, problems, and dangers of the house organ. Some correspondents said the house organ must be broad without becoming too commercial. One company said the house organ must avoid handouts and never become merely the voice of management. Another pointed out the difficulty of coverage where people are scattered throughout the offices and plants of a coast-to-coast production network. Still another urged that reader studies be made, so that editorial policy could be worked out to conform with trends in public thinking. Some correspondents pointed out that to present serious problems in a readable style is always difficult. Many invoke the bugaboo of time, which haunts all editors. Those who edit house organs are subject to the universal need of editors to get fresh news and fresh ways of presentation. On the score of contributors, however, the house organ editor has special problems. Some correspondents wrote that they had difficulty in getting senior officers to contribute to the company magazine. Others found it hard to get employees to contribute because they felt it would be presumptuous for them to do so. Some correspondents urged that house organs must avoid controversies, others said they should avoid too much gossip. As for broad policies, some correspondents said that house organs ought to publish material that dramatizes the relationship of the company to the whole of American economy. A few commented on budget limitations, but these limitations, like the limitation of time, are always with us. Certainly this survey indicates that house organs today have a very important place in the minds of American management. Company heads do not take the trouble to discuss matters that are not of major interest. The fact is, management at top levels is very much interested in watching the house organ, appraising it, and even running it. This deduction seems to me a fair one from the high percentage of response to the questionnaire, and from the specific replies which I have summarized. This interest is highly encouraging. But I wonder whether we should feel encouraged by the fact that so high a percentage of management thinks the house organ fulfills its purposes and that its achievements are great, while its shortcomings are relatively unimportant. Obviously, management is satisfied with the house organ as it is today, otherwise it would not continue publishing this type of magazine. But is management right or wrong in its judgment? Is the House organ, in its present form, adequate for its avowed purposes? So far the only answer we have had to this question has been a series of generalizations provided by management and editors. Now let us attempt to answer the question by a different approach by examining the actual contents of the House organ, the ideas and information it offers its readers. A report by the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company analyzed the contents of 399 employee magazines published during 1947-48. The report shows that the editorial contents of these House organs fall into the following categories. 1. Efforts to increase efficiency. 2. Editorial comment. 3. Messages from executives. 4. Official announcements. 5. General information about the company. 6. Financial information about the company. 7. Information about the industry. 8. Company services for employees. 9. Corporate activities of employees. 10. Personals. 11. Recognition of employees. 12. Promotion of health and safety. 13. Economic information. 14. News of outside happenings. 15. Political news. 16. Material for wives and children. 17. Interest builders. 18. Miscellaneous. Of the 399 House organs analyzed, 348 use personals, 268 publish news about athletics, and 252 about clubs and recreation, 203 run safety stories, 149 cover service anniversaries, 144 write up products and advertising, 141 deal with plant expansion and modernization, 130 with marriages, 126 with economic information, 120 run obituaries, and 120 have suggestion systems. On topics of a more fundamental nature, however, the coverage is not so good. Of the 399 publications surveyed, only 22 cover business conditions, 9 dividends, 14 prices, 9 costs of equipment, 5 industrial relations policy, 9 price policy, 14 wage plans, only 2 cover taxes, 2 hours, and only 2 even so much as mention strikes. This means that House organs, on the whole, ignore some of the most vital concerns of the employee. The true state of affairs in this respect is revealed by a survey made by the International Council of Industrial Editors, which queried industrial publications about their coverage of union activities. Only 21% of those who replied said they printed news of union activities regularly. 12% ignored the question altogether. 66% said they did not publish news of union activities. Only 12% said they publish articles or items about union contract negotiations. 66% said they did not publish news of union activities. 21% did not answer the question. Only 3% reported that they published articles or items about grievance settlements. 21% of the House organs queried did not answer this question, either. Only 32% of the editors said they attended company meetings when employee relations policies are discussed. 47% said they did not attend such meetings. 21% did not answer the question. One of the most significant sections of this survey involved a matter of the utmost interest to employees everywhere, the Taft-Hartley Act. Of the House organs surveyed, only 13% published articles or items about the Taft-Hartley Act. 67% did not publish anything on this subject. 20% did not answer the question. A similar refusal to face reality is revealed by the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company survey of the contents of employee magazines. It shows that less than 10% of the House organs surveyed discuss such problems as arbitration, bonuses, holidays, hours, industrial relations, job evaluations, plant rules, price policies, strikes, union contracts, vacation plans, wages, and the like. Now, these subjects are precisely what interest most of us, and certainly they are what most interest employees and would fulfill the stated purposes. As for financial information about the company, the survey reveals that only 5% of employee magazines discuss taxes, sales, prices, investments, business conditions, financing, dividends, costs, collections, and similar subjects. So here, too, in the matter of attaining objectives, the House organ fails to give its readers the information they want or need. This is hardly the fault of the House organ editors. Basic policy originates with top management in 33% of the cases and with the advertising or public relations department in 20%. Ultimately, however, it is management that is responsible for the overall contents of company magazines. And yet, in spite of the fact, management believes that the house organ today accomplishes its purposes as a means of communication between the company and its employees, as a morale builder that creates better understanding between management and men, and as an effective instrument in advancing the American way. I have been told that there is a study showing that employees like to read about sports, personal items concerning themselves, and similar matters. No doubt they do. But it is unrealistic to let a study of this kind determine the contents of the company magazine. House organs should not compete with tabloids. They have a far more important purpose to accomplish, and management says so. For one thing, theirs is primarily an educational function in the key area of economics. Surveys have shown how profound is the ignorance of the American people about the economic facts of life. This fact has been confirmed in studies made by Factory Management Magazine and Fortune. We are a nation of economic illiterates. This has practical consequences that must not be ignored. Many strikes arise from grievances between management and men that are primarily based on economic ignorance. In many a business there is acute maladjustment between management and employees that is due above all to the fact that the employees know nothing about the economics of that business. Obviously, economic illiteracy must be overcome if we are to have an economically stable America and world. What is the house organ doing to solve this vital problem? Management admits that overcoming the economic illiteracy of employees is one of the prime functions of the employee magazine. But basing content mainly on findings of surveys which show that employees like to read about the Dodgers and the marriages of their fellow employees will not contribute one iota to their economic education. Certainly, if you are trying to reach a specific goal, you will never do it by refusing to face it, particularly when others are facing it in a realistic way. What conclusions can we draw from all this? In a recent issue of the New York Times, C.F. Hughes, who writes on the business point of view, said that there was one lesson contained in the 1948 presidential election that was bound to receive major attention in industry and trade. Somehow or other, business is still far apart from the thinking of the American people. High management imagined that it knew what the citizens were thinking, until it was discovered that what was supposed to be in the bag fell right through. It is clear that management and editors alike, those who bear the responsibility for the publication of the company magazine, ought to give greater action-related thought to developing a more realistic editorial policy than the one which now prevails. If the house organ is to fulfill its purposes, it must deal realistically with those problems that we know are deep in the minds and hearts of millions of employees, problems that did much to bring about the surprising turn in the 1948 election. The complacency with the house organ as it exists today is hardly justified by the realities of the contemporary American scene. In view of this, it seems to me that both the editors and management might take to heart the lesson of the election and the lessons implied in the house organ surveys, and apply these lessons in a new and revitalized attitude toward the problems which, with the rest of America, they are facing today. House organ editors ought certainly to achieve the purposes set for their magazines. But in doing so, they ought to reach deeper into the minds of the publics involved. It seems to me that house organs must deal with the fundamental issues in which their publics are vitally interested. At present, the house organ touches too sketchily on crucial matters that concern the publisher, that is, the company, and on equally crucial matters that concern the readers, that is, the employees. In the light of the revelations made by my house organ studies, I suggest that we have something to learn from trade union house organs. Consider, for instance, the magazines published by the AFL and the CIO. Within the framework of the private enterprise system, which they accept, these magazines are based upon a point of view that differs from that of management house organs in vital areas. But this point of view is presented by direct reference to all the major interests of the employee. Here the very reader whom company magazines are trying to reach with their view finds a full, realistic treatment, from labor's view, of the very topics the company magazine tends to avoid. If labor publications like the Pilot, house organ of the National Maritime Union, or the Textile News wield a tremendous influence, it is primarily because they deal effectively with those topics that most interest employees, because they are, in effect, the one place where the employee today can learn about the economics of his industry. Trade union leaders in the clothing industry who are interested in maintaining equitable industrial relations between management and men have told us that one of their principal jobs is to educate the employees in the current economic realities of the companies for which they work. They do this through the trade union magazine. Here is a specific example. There is an increase, let us say, in the wages of steel workers at a time when the wages of clothing workers remain static. The latter naturally urge their union to demand a wage increase for them. At this point, the union leadership, through the union house organ, explains to the workers why wage increases are possible in steel but not in clothing. It acquaints them with the competitive factors in their own industry. It gives them a lesson in economics in connection with a specific issue, a lesson whose practical consequence is better relations between management and men. It seems to me that the time has come when the company magazine must also deal with the fundamental issues of contemporary America. If the company magazine is to accomplish its purpose, if it is really going to be a means of communication between the company and its employees, if it is to be a morale builder that creates better understanding between management and men, above all, if it is to be an effective instrument in advancing the American way, it can only do so by speaking to its readers about the essential, paramount things that concern them. The fact is that these things concern us all. They are at the core of the 20th century crisis. And the House organ's point of view in dealing with them must be that of our common stake in society, the stake that means everything to management and employee alike, the supreme stake of maintaining our American democracy.